In the quiet, rural heart of Bavaria, Germany, stands a farm. It's isolated, surrounded by dense, leafless trees in the early spring of 1922. The place is called Hinterkaifeck. The name itself now sends a chill down the spine. But for the Gruber family, it was simply home. But in the days leading up to March 31st, 1922, home didn't feel safe. They reported strange things. Footprints in the snow leading to their farm, but none leading away. A strange newspaper found in the house that no one had bought, a set of keys that had gone missing, and perhaps most chilling of all, the sound of footsteps in the attic when no one was up there. They had a feeling they were being watched. They were right. What happened at Hinterkaifeck over the next few days is one of the most brutal and unsolved murder mysteries in history. A crime so perfect, so vicious, that it has haunted Germany for over a century. This is the story of the 6 victims, the phantom killer, and the questions that remain screaming into the silence. The patriarch was Andreas Gruber, a stern, 63-year-old farmer. Living with him was his widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, aged 35. Victoria had 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph. Also living at the farm were the maid, Maria Baumgartner, aged 44. And notably, the previous maid had quit just days before, terrified of the farm, claiming it was haunted. She was replaced by Maria, who arrived on the fateful day of March 31st. Completing the household was Victoria's widower, Karl Gabriel. He and Victoria were rumored to be in an unnatural relationship, a relationship that Andreas Gruber, her own father, was also allegedly involved in. Hinterkaifeck was a place of dark secrets long before the murderer arrived. The farm itself was the definition of remote. The nearest neighbor was a kilometer away. In the harsh winter, it was a world unto itself, a perfect stage for a tragedy with no witnesses. April 4th, 1922. The neighbors noticed something was wrong. The Gruber children hadn't come to school for days. No smoke rose from the chimney. The mail lay untouched. A few neighbors decided to investigate. What they found would be seared into their memories forever. In the barn, they found the first bodies, Andreas Gruber and his daughter Victoria. They had been lured to the hayloft, it seemed, and killed with a pickaxe, a farming tool called a holebile. The force of the blows was tremendous. The searchers, now terrified, moved to the house. In one bedroom, they found the new maid, Maria Baumgartner, in her bed. She had been killed as she slept. In another room, they found young Cecilia. She had not died quickly. Forensics would later find her own hair clutched in her hand, suggesting she had survived for hours after the attack, tearing at her own scalp in agony. But where was the toddler, Joseph, and the widower, Karl? They were found last. In their bedroom, Karl was in his bed. Little Joseph was next to him. Both had been murdered in the same brutal fashion. 6 people, killed with ruthless efficiency. But the story gets stranger. The killer didn't flee. Evidence suggests he stayed at the farm for days after the murders. The neighbors noted that the dogs were calmed, the cattle were fed and tended to. Food had been eaten from the pantry, and perhaps the most gut-wrenching detail of all, someone had stoked the fire in the stove, and it was still warm when the bodies were discovered. The killer had lived alongside his victims, listening to the outside world search for them, while he calmly ate their food and warmed himself by their fire. The police were called. It was one of the first major crime scenes investigated with modern forensic techniques. They found clues, but each one led to a dead end. They found the murder weapon, the holebile, left at the scene. They found those mysterious footprints. They even found a psychic from Munich who claimed to have visions of the killer, a vision that led to a man who had a solid alibi. The suspect list was long and frustrating. Suspect 1, the strange neighbor. A neighbor was known to have argued violently with Andreas Gruber over money and land. He also owned a similar holebile, but he had an alibi, and no physical evidence connected him. Suspect 2, the jilted lover. There were rumors about Victoria's late husband. He had died in World War I, but some whispered he hadn't died at all, that he had deserted and returned for revenge. A fascinating theory, but utterly unproven. Suspect 3, the previous maid's father. The previous maid had quit because she was scared. Was her father angry about his daughter working at such a haunted and immoral place? He was questioned but released. The investigation dragged on for years. Over 100 suspects were questioned. Every lead evaporated. The case went cold, shrouded in the same fog that often blanketed the Bavarian countryside. So who did it? A century later, we are no closer to a definitive answer, but the theories have only grown more complex. Theory 1, the targeted revenge. This theory suggests the killer had a very specific grudge against Andreas and Victoria, perhaps related to their incestuous relationship, which was an open secret. The others were simply collateral damage, witnesses to be eliminated. The killer knew the farm, knew the routines, and knew how to disappear back into the community without a trace. Theory 2. The serial killer. Could this have been the work of an early nomadic serial killer? Someone passing through who saw an isolated farm and saw an opportunity? The sheer brutality, the overkill, and the act of staying afterwards fits a certain psychotic profile. But it doesn't explain the premeditation, the stalking beforehand. Theory 3. The official cover-up. Some researchers have pointed a finger at the early Nazi Party, which was active in Bavaria in the 1920s. Could Andreas Gruber have been an informant? Or could he have witnessed something he shouldn't have? It's a conspiracy theory, but in a case this opaque, every idea must be considered. In 1923, the authorities, perhaps in an attempt to lay the ghosts to rest, did something drastic. They demolished the Hinterkaifeck farm. They razed it to the ground. Today, a small memorial stands in a grove of trees where the farm once stood. A silent cross for 6 silent victims. The Hinterkaifeck murders remain a black hole in criminal history. We have the victims: Andreas, Victoria, Cecilia, Joseph, Carl, and Maria. We have the horrifying details. We have the eerie aftermath, but we have no killer, no name, no face. Just a phantom who walked out of the snow, committed an act of incomprehensible violence, and then seemingly vanished back into it. It's a story that warns us about the darkness that can hide in plain sight in the most familiar of places. The case is closed, but the mystery is forever open.